The first strike. The story opens on the peaceful human colony of Haven Prime, a farming world on the edge of known space. The colonists live simple lives, growing crops and raising families far from the political tensions of the core worlds. Commander Jake Miller oversees the small defense station, more concerned with asteroid impacts than military threats. The attack comes without warning. Alien ships emerge from hyperspace, their hulls black as void and bristling with unknown weapons. The attacking force belongs to the Vex Empire, a militant species that has been expanding across the galaxy for centuries. Their leader, General Kor, views humanity as weak prey, another species to be conquered and enslaved. The orbital defense platforms crumble under the alien assault. Jake desperately tries to coordinate evacuations, but the enemy moves too fast. Plasma beams rake across the settlements below, turning homes into ash. Transport ships flee the planet, packed with screaming civilians, while fighters buy them precious seconds with their lives. In the chaos, young engineer Tom Blake works frantically to send out a distress signal. His hands shake as he types the emergency codes, knowing this message might be humanity's only warning. The transmission cuts through space just as the communication array explodes around him. The massacre is swift and brutal. Within hours, Haven Prime burns. The Vex forces glass the major cities from orbit, their weapons turning sand into radioactive crystal. General Kor watches the destruction with satisfaction, already planning his next target. To him, this is just another easy victory in a long campaign of conquest. The few survivors hide in underground shelters, listening to the silence above. They know help won't come in time. Haven Prime was too far from the main shipping lanes, too isolated for quick rescue. As the days pass, the reality sinks in. They are alone with their grief and rage. News of the attack spreads through human space like wildfire. The footage is horrific. Children running from plasma fire, elderly citizens trapped in collapsing buildings, heroes dying to save others. The images burn themselves into the public mind, creating a wound that will never heal. On Earth, President Cross addresses the nation with tears in her eyes. The usually composed leader struggles to find words for such senseless violence. Behind her, military advisors whisper about response options, but everyone knows conventional forces won't be enough. The Vex Empire is too strong, too advanced. In deep space, Captain Rex Stone receives the distress signal aboard his patrol ship. The grizzled veteran has fought in 3 wars, but nothing prepared him for the raw footage from Haven Prime. His crew gathers around the communications display, faces hard with anger. They want revenge, but they're just one ship against an empire. The story establishes the human character traits that make them unique, their fierce protectiveness of family, their ability to unite in crisis, and their unwillingness to forgive. Genocide. As rescue ships finally reach Haven Prime, they find only ruins and graves. The survivors tell their stories through tears, speaking of neighbors who died protecting strangers and parents who gave their lives for their children. Dr. Lisa Park, a xenobiologist studying the attack site, makes a disturbing discovery. The Vex didn't just want to conquer Haven Prime. They wanted to send a message. The pattern of destruction shows calculated cruelty, designed to maximize suffering and fear. This wasn't war. It was terrorism on a planetary scale. The revelation changes everything. This isn't about territory or resources. The Vex Empire views humanity as insects to be stepped on, barely worth the effort to crush. Their arrogance will prove to be their fatal mistake, but they don't know that yet. They see only weak creatures who build pretty farms and talk about peace. As the part ends, emergency sessions convene on Earth and the core worlds. Military leaders dust off contingency plans that were never meant to be used. Scientists check calculations on projects that were supposed to remain theoretical forever. The politicians debate, but everyone knows the decision has already been made. The attack on Haven Prime has awakened something in humanity that their enemies don't understand. It's not just anger or grief. It's the cold, patient fury of a species that remembers every slight, every betrayal, every innocent life lost. The Vex think they've won an easy victory, but they've actually signed their own death warrant. Deep in the classified levels of military command, orders go out to remote facilities. Seals are broken on doors that have remained locked for decades. Scientists who swore they would never build such things begin checking old designs. The darkest weapon in humanity's arsenal is about to be unleashed, and the galaxy will never be the same. The Gathering Storm 6 months after Haven Prime, the Vex Empire continues its rampage across human space. General Kor leads his fleets from victory to victory, each conquest easier than the last. Human colonies fall like dominoes. New Boston burns, Terra Nova surrenders after a brief siege, and Frontier Station simply vanishes from all communications. The pattern becomes clear to military analysts. The Vex aren't interested in occupation. They want extermination. Their ships appear, destroy everything that moves, and leave the worlds as lifeless rocks. Refugee ships flee toward the core systems, carrying tales of horror that grow worse with each telling. Colonel Mark Steele commands the defense of Titan Base, humanity's last major military installation in the Outer Rim. His forces are exhausted, outnumbered 10-1, but they hold the line anyway. Every day brings new reports of lost worlds, lost fleets, lost hope. The enemy seems unstoppable. In the underground bunkers of Earth, Dr. Helen Gray works around the clock on humanity's response. The project, as it's known in whispered conversations, hasn't been activated in over a century. The last time humanity built such weapons, they nearly destroyed themselves. But desperate times call for desperate measures. The weapon isn't nuclear, or conventional in any sense the galaxy understands. It's something uniquely human, born from their species' darkest capabilities. While other races fight with energy weapons and particle beams, humanity has mastered something far more terrible: biological warfare on a scale that defies imagination. Dr. Gray remembers her grandfather's stories about the plague wars on Earth, when engineered viruses nearly ended human civilization. The weapons were banned, the research destroyed, the scientists sworn to secrecy, but the knowledge remained, locked away in quantum-encrypted files, waiting for a threat terrible enough to justify their use. The enemy's arrogance helps the project. Vex soldiers don't wear environmental suits in human atmospheres. They consider such precautions beneath them. Their biology is well documented from captured specimens. Most importantly, they see biological weapons as primitive, the tools of lesser species who lack proper technology. Captain Stone, now promoted to admiral, leads the evacuation fleets. His hair has gone gray watching world after world die, but his resolve only grows stronger. He's seen the classified briefings, knows what's coming. The waiting is the hardest part, watching his people suffer while the weapon charges toward completion. The Vex Empire celebrates its victories with typical brutality. Kor broadcasts messages across human space, promising swift death to those who surrender, and slow death to those who resist. His ships display the corpses of human defenders as trophies. Such cruelty would break most species, but it only feeds human determination. On Mars, General Paul Cross, the president's brother, oversees the final preparations. The weapon systems are hidden in cargo containers, disguised as medical supplies and humanitarian aid. The delivery method is almost insultingly simple. Human traders and diplomats will carry the packages directly to Vex worlds. The genius lies in the deception. Humanity has cultivated a reputation as peaceful traders, interested only in commerce and cultural exchange. Even now, as their worlds burn, human merchants continue visiting Vex ports. The enemy sees this as proof of human weakness. They can't even maintain proper wartime discipline. Dr. Gray makes the final modifications to the viral payload. The weapon is a masterpiece of biological engineering, designed specifically for Vex physiology. It will be completely harmless to other species, but absolutely lethal to any creature with Vex DNA. The incubation period is precisely calibrated, long enough to spread undetected, short enough to strike before countermeasures can be developed. The Moral weight crushes everyone involved. These are scientists and soldiers who joined to protect life, not end it on such a scale. But the images from Haven Prime play constantly in the background. Children running from plasma fire, families torn apart, entire cities reduced to glass. Sometimes the only way to preserve humanity is to abandon it temporarily. In the depths of space, Vex fleets prepare for their final assault on the core worlds. Earth itself lies within reach, its blue oceans and green continents a prize beyond measure. Core dreams of standing in the ruins of humanity's capital, declaring the Empire's ultimate victory. He doesn't know that human traders have already visited every major Vex world. The packages have been delivered, their contents released into the air and water systems. The weapon spreads silently through their populations, patient as death itself. In 72 hours, the countdown will end. Admiral Stone receives the final transmission from Dr. Gray. Package delivered. God help us all. He closes his eyes and thinks of Haven Prime, of all the worlds that have burned. Justice is coming, cold and terrible as the void between stars, the HFY silent death. The weapon activates simultaneously across 57 Vex worlds, timed to the second by quantum entanglement communicators. It begins as nothing more than a slight fever, easily dismissed by Vex medical staff as seasonal illness. Their doctors, trained in conventional medicine, see no cause for alarm. On the Vex homeworld of Krex Prime, General Core reviews invasion, plans for Earth. The massive capital city sprawls beneath his command tower, home to 8 billion Vex citizens. The streets buzz with military traffic as the Empire mobilizes for its greatest conquest. None of them know they're already dead. The first symptoms appear within hours. Vex soldiers collapse at their posts, burning with fever that no medicine can touch. The illness spreads faster than anything in recorded medical history, jumping from host to host through simple contact. Emergency hospitals overflow with patients exhibiting identical symptoms. Dr. Gray monitors the weapon's progress from her bunker on Earth. The bioweapon targets the Vex nervous system with surgical precision, exploiting unique aspects of their alien biology. To any other species, the engineered virus is completely harmless. It simply cannot replicate in non-Vex tissue. The beauty of the weapon lies in its simplicity. While the Vex developed immunity to most conventional biological agents, they never encountered anything designed specifically for their genome. Their medical science, advanced in many ways, lacks the biological warfare knowledge that humanity developed during its darkest period. Panic spreads through the Vex Empire as world after world reports the same mysterious plague. Their best scientists work desperately to identify the pathogen, but the virus destroys itself after completing its mission, leaving no trace for analysis. By the time they realize it's an engineered weapon, it's far too late. On Vex mining colonies, workers stumble and fall in the deep tunnels. Their automated systems continue operating, but no one remains to monitor them. Industrial accidents cascade as safety protocols fail without operators. The infrastructure of conquest begins collapsing from within. General Core feels the first symptoms as he plans humanity's destruction. The fever starts small, a slight headache, nothing more. His aide suggests postponing the strategy meeting, but Core refuses to show weakness. The great general fights wars, not minor illnesses. His pride will kill him. The weapon's psychological warfare element proves equally devastating. Vex society, built on strength and military discipline, cannot cope with an invisible enemy they cannot fight. Soldiers who fear no conventional weapon cower from the unseen death that stalks their worlds. Order breaks down as fear spreads faster than the virus itself. Human intelligence networks report the chaos through encrypted channels. Admiral Stone watches the updates with grim satisfaction. Vex fleets abandon their assault positions, racing back to defend homeworlds that are already lost. The invasion of Earth stalls as commanders fall ill or flee in panic. The virus shows no mercy, no distinction between soldier and civilian. Vex children die in their schools while their parents collapse in government buildings. The weapon cannot differentiate between the guilty and innocent, a fact that weighs heavily on its human creators. This is genocide, pure and simple, justified only by the alternative of human extinction. Dr. Gray observes the death toll with clinical detachment, but her hands shake as she records the numbers. Each fallen world represents billions of lives, an entire species facing extinction. The moral cost threatens to break her, but she remembers Haven Prime and forces herself to continue monitoring. Desperate Vex leaders attempt to negotiate, sending frantic messages to human governments. They offer to return conquered worlds, pay massive reparations, anything to stop the plague. But the weapon cannot be recalled or controlled. It will burn through their population until no one remains to carry it. The Empire's military command struggles to maintain control as their forces disintegrate. Vex ships drift powerless in space, their crews dead at their stations. Entire battle fleets become ghost armadas, automated systems still functioning while their operators decay in their chairs. On Krex Prime, the government broadcasts increasingly desperate proclamations. They blame the plague on natural causes, then enemy sabotage, then divine punishment for unknown sins. The truth, that humanity has engineered their extinction, is too terrible to acknowledge publicly. General Kor's final moments come in his command center, surrounded by the corpses of his staff. The fever burns through his brain as he stares at intelligence reports he can no longer comprehend. His last coherent thought is a recognition of his fatal error. He mistook human compassion for weakness. The Vex Empire's final transmission cuts across space in a dozen languages. We surrender, please. Make it stop. But surrender is impossible. The weapon has passed beyond human control, following its biological imperative to complete the extinction they programmed into its genetic code. In 72 hours, the first phase will be complete. 57 worlds will fall silent, their populations reduced to memory and ash. The reckoning. The silence begins on the third day. Vex communication networks, which once carried the chatter of billions, transmit only automated distress signals echoing through empty space. Admiral Stone's monitoring stations detect the absence of life across the enemy empire. No voices, no movement, no signs of resistance. On Earth, emergency sessions convene as the reality sinks in. Humanity has committed genocide on a scale that dwarfs every historical atrocity. The Vex Empire, which terrorized the galaxy for centuries, has been erased in less than a week. The weapon worked exactly as designed, and that terrifies everyone involved. Dr. Gray stares at the final death toll. 47 billion Vex across 57 worlds, plus unknown millions on smaller outposts and ships. The number is too large to comprehend, too vast to process emotionally. She's become the architect of the largest mass killing in galactic history, and the weight of that knowledge threatens to crush her sanity. President Cross addresses the human population, but her words feel hollow against the magnitude of what they've done. She speaks of justice for Haven Prime, of protecting humanity's future, of the terrible necessity of their actions. But privately, she wonders if they've become the very monsters they sought to defeat. The galaxy reacts with horror and awe. Other alien species, who once dismissed humanity as primitive traders, now view them with terror. The peaceful merchants, who sold them agricultural products and cultural artifacts, have revealed themselves capable of extinction-level warfare. Trade agreements are quietly canceled, diplomatic missions recalled. Captain Ryan Bell leads the first scouting mission into former Vex territory. His crew moves through dead systems like explorers in a vast graveyard. On Krex Prime, their shuttles land in streets filled with corpses. The capital city stands perfectly preserved, its inhabitants simply having dropped where they stood when the virus claimed them. The cleanup begins with robotic probes, programmed to catalog the remains of an empire. Vex technology lies scattered across worlds that will never again know their creator's touch. Their great libraries hold knowledge that died with its keepers. Art galleries display masterpieces that no living being can appreciate in their original. Context. Some human soldiers struggle with what they've witnessed. Sergeant Mike Hayes, a veteran of the Vex War, breaks down after finding a Vex school. The small desks still hold children's drawings, their young artists now silent forever. He's fought enemies before, but never participated in the murder of innocents on such a scale. The weapons designers face their own reckoning. Dr. Gray submits her resignation, unable to continue working for the military that commissioned humanity's darkest hour. Her research notes, sealed in classified archives, become humanity's most dangerous secret. The knowledge of how to engineer species-specific extinction must never spread. Other alien civilizations begin distancing themselves from humanity. Thashi, Corvan Republic cancels their mutual defense treaty. The Zalari Confederation closes their borders to human ships. Across the galaxy, the message is clear. Humanity has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Yet some species quietly express gratitude. The Vex Empire had been expanding for centuries, conquering or enslaving every world in their path. Dozens of civilizations had fallen to their brutal advance. Humanity's terrible weapon has eliminated a threat that conventional warfare could never have stopped. Admiral Stone leads the occupation of Vex worlds, a grim duty that no one wants. His crews work in environmental suits, not from fear of the dead virus, but from psychological protection against the sea of corpses they must navigate. Every building, every street, every vehicle holds reminders of the lives they've ended. The moral debates begin almost immediately. Philosophers and ethicists argue whether humanity's actions were justified. Some claim they saved the galaxy from Vex tyranny. Others insist that genocide can never be moral, regardless of the threat. The arguments will continue for generations, but the dead cannot participate in their own defense. Religious leaders struggle to provide meaning for the incomprehensible. How does one pray for forgiveness when the sin is measured in billions? How does one find redemption after unleashing extinction itself? The chaplains who counsel traumatized soldiers have no answers, only the promise that time might eventually dull the pain. Archaeological teams begin documenting Vex culture before it's lost forever. Their language, their art, their history, all of it teeters on the edge of oblivion. Ironically, humanity becomes the preserver of Vex civilization, cataloging the achievements of those they destroyed. The children of Haven Prime, now refugees, in camps across human space, react with confusion to news of their enemy's extinction. They wanted justice for their murdered families, but they never imagined it would come at such a cost. Some celebrate, others weep. Most simply stare with the 1,000-yard stare of those who've seen too much. As the fourth part ends, humanity stands alone with their victory and their shame, wondering if they've saved their species or damned their souls. The price of victory won. Year after the Vex extinction, humanity struggles with the aftermath of their victory. The galaxy has changed, and so have they. Admiral Stone, now promoted to fleet commander, oversees the administration of 57 dead worlds. The burden of managing an empire of ghosts has aged him beyond his years. The economic impact proves staggering. Vex technology, once considered the most advanced in the galaxy, lies ownerless and unpatented. Human corporations begin reverse engineering their weapons, their ships, their industrial systems. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Humanity profits from the civilization they destroyed. Dr. Gray works quietly as a teacher at a small college, trying to find meaning in nurturing life instead of ending it. Her students don't know their professor once engineered the death of nearly 1 trillion beings. She's legally forbidden from discussing her past work, carrying the secret like a lead weight in her chest. The psychological casualties mount among those who participated in the genocide. Military therapists report unprecedented rates of breakdown among crews who witnessed the Vex homeworlds. Some soldiers refuse to serve on ships equipped with technology salvaged from the dead empire. Others quit the military entirely, unable to reconcile their actions with their humanity. President Cross announces the Remembrance Initiative, declaring the former Vex worlds a memorial to the costs of war. No human colonies will be established on the dead planets. Instead, they'll remain as monuments to both Vex civilization and humanity's capacity for terrible choices. The decision is controversial but final. Other alien species begin forming defensive alliances specifically to counter human expansion. The Corvin Republic leads the coalition of free worlds, uniting dozens of civilizations under a single banner. Their stated goal is peaceful coexistence, but everyone understands the subtext. They're preparing for humanity's next war. Young Jake Turner, son of a Haven Prime survivor, enlists in the military despite his mother's tears. He represents a new generation of humans who grew up knowing their species is capable of extinction-level warfare. To him, the Vex genocide isn't a tragedy. It's proof that humanity can protect itself against any threat. The scientific community splits over Dr. Gray's research. One faction demands it be destroyed completely, arguing that such knowledge is too dangerous to exist. Another insists it must be preserved and studied, ensuring humanity never again faces an enemy unprepared. The debate rages in classified committees that will never reach public attention. Captain Bell leads the Vex Memorial Project, documenting everything they can about the dead civilization. His teams work like archaeologists studying ancient Rome, except their subject vanished last Tuesday. The irony haunts him. Humanity has become the sole authority on Vex culture, responsible for preserving what they destroyed. The children born after the genocide grow up in a different galaxy. Human space is secure, protected by the reputation of species-ending warfare. No alien empire dares threaten Earth's colonies, but no alien civilization truly trusts humanity either. The peace is built on fear rather than friendship. Sergeant Hayes, the soldier who broke down in the Vex school, becomes an advocate for strict controls on biological weapons. His testimony before the Galactic Ethics Council helps establish new treaties banning engineered extinction agents. Most species sign eagerly, but humanity's signature carries special weight. They're the only ones who've actually used such weapons. The Vex plague continues spreading through their abandoned territories, consuming any remaining biological material. Robot probes detect its presence on asteroids and space stations, methodically destroying every trace of Vex DNA. The weapon has become self-sustaining, a permanent scar on the galaxy's biological landscape. Some human philosophers argue that the genocide was evolution in action, the weak species eliminated by the strong. Others insist it was humanity's fall from grace, the moment they became the galaxy's greatest threat. History will judge, but historians prefer to study the past rather than live through it. Admiral Stone's final report on the Vex territories concludes with a sobering assessment. Humanity has gained 57 worlds, countless technological advances, and absolute security from external threats. The cost was their innocence, their galactic relationships, and nearly 1 trillion lives. Whether the trade was worth it remains an open question. Dr. Gray retires from teaching, moving to a small farm on New Earth, where she grows vegetables and tries to forget. Her garden produces life in soil that's never known war, but she can't escape the knowledge that her greatest scientific achievement was death itself. The vegetables taste fine, but she has no appetite. The story ends with humanity standing alone at the peak of galactic power, surrounded by fearful neighbors, and haunted by their own success. They wanted to survive, and they did. They wanted to protect their species, and they have. But they discovered that the darkest weapon in their arsenal wasn't the virus that killed the Vex. It was their willingness to use it. The galaxy will never forget, and neither will they.